Hello and welcome to my fourth devlog for my Liege, the probably going to be first official game of Sugoi Penguin Gaming, and I am really excited for this one because it's time to talk about the feedback I got from the prototype. A lot of you lovely folks out there were generous enough to spend some time trying the prototype out, as well as giving me feedback, and a handful of you, I think. Oh, I should have counted before starting this video. I think there were about 6 to 8 of you that actually let me watch you play it on the first playthrough, which was by far so helpful. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, it was just it was a very humbling experience, but also a very confidence building experience as well. Not sure that sentence worked properly, but that's okay. But yeah, so this devlog going to just highlight the 3 main takeaways that I learned from the feedback, kind of lay out what my roadmap is, and depending upon how long this takes, maybe touch on one thing that I've already started working on this week for the alpha that I have planned, which is kind of teasering that second part I mentioned, the roadmap. Overall, I think the feedback I got confirmed one thing that I was really worried about is there is a game here. I was worried there wasn't a game here. I am designing this game as something that I would enjoy playing, or the type of thing that I think sounds interesting, and I was worried that everyone would just be like, well, that's boring. This feels tedious. You gave me homework, essentially, and I was like, that was a big fear of mine. But despite the issues and the problems y'all ran into, a lot of the feedback was that it was captivating, or kept you interested, or you felt like the decisions I was asking you to make were compelling or difficult or interesting in some way. So that leads me to be more confident in that, yes, I have a game here. I don't need to start from scratch and go in a whole new direction. So, big picture, we are going to move forward with this prototype as our base. But that said, there are a lot of areas that need improvement, some that I knew about and some that I hadn't really considered fully. With the prototype, I knew that I was focusing on gameplay as what I wanted to get feedback on. But I kind of shorthanded the UI a little too much, and that hindered gameplay a little bit. So, the first big piece of feedback here, and I've got 3 of them, 3 categories, is there just needs to be more to engage you with the decisions you're making and their outcomes. And what I mean by that is just, when you make choices, I made it a little too vague. There needs to be more to communicate what's happening because of the decisions you make. First off, in case anyone's concerned, nobody knew that these were buttons down here. That's a UI thing that I know I need to fix up, but yeah, nobody figured out these were buttons right away until they tried clicking on anything. So if we scoot ahead to the first big decision you have to make, and I'm realizing I don't really have a great place to put me on this one. I'm going to shrink me down a little bit more just so I don't cut off any words. On this first one, I think people understood the choices they were having to make, but I think the stats in the top right and the people in the top left weren't. It wasn't obvious that what you were about to do was going to affect those. So you didn't know up front. You could kind of guess. Like, these are pretty transparent as far as like what you're going to do. The merchants are gonna help, or some of the house guards are gonna help. So you could take a guess that your guards are gonna become farmers. But what is also unclear is that we have a plus 10. One, it wasn't clear that this was how much food you were gaining per week, but I changed that number because you put more farmers in the field. You're now getting more food per week. Very few people realize that, and I don't mind that it's, you know, when you're making the choice, I'm not saying this will do +5 per week, but I need to do something to communicate, hey, here are the outcomes of what you just did. The other thing too that I think went unnoticed, and this was because of a bigger issue of once you started working with these menus, that's all people did. They stopped looking around the map and stuff. So I need to draw your attention more to things happening in the scene. So like that, 4 guards became farmers. Well, if you're paying close attention, closer than anybody reasonably would, because I gave you no reason to pay this close of attention, you'll notice that I only have 6 guards here. Now they're doing their loop here, and I don't think anyone would count up these farmers, but you had physically some guards put down their sword, pick up a pitchfork, and walk over here and start farming. So finding ways to draw your attention to what is changing in the world, that's something I need to add in. I can do that. I have some ideas. We'll see what works best, but things like moving the camera around to like maybe zoom in on a handful of them that, you know, have an animation that shows them changing jobs and walking towards the farm. Maybe it's a little menu that pops up that shows like 4 meeples starting on one side with the label guard, walking to the other side of the little pop-up menu, display, whatever, and now they are farmers. So something to draw your attention to. This happened because of what you said. So that's what I mean by engaging. And we can do a lot more things too, like when numbers that are visually displayed change, have some animation, you know, green and red colors to show up and down. Maybe you hit confirm, maybe a big +5 shows up here and it like slowly streaks across the screen to the number it's going to update. A lot of things I can do there. So it was an area I knew that I didn't put a lot of attention to, but the UI backs up the gameplay. So I think that is a big area that that needs work. The next part, and I think this is related to what I mentioned about people just not interacting with the map at all, is I need to give you more to do. Great, right now I can just end week, but what I saw a lot of people wanting to do is they were trying to like click on buildings or on the people to get information about them. So what I want to do is give you things to do outside of that. So maybe you click on one of these little meeples and you know, a little window. If you've played Roller Coaster Tycoon, that's what I'm picturing. A little window pops up with maybe a little image of them, their name, their current thought, like whatever gossip or opinion they have right now. And it might be as simple as, man, you know, dry bread and beans again? When are we gonna get some chicken? I don't know, but that could tell you that you have a food shortage going on. Just some more flavor around that, and give you a reason to click on these little guys. And it, you know, maybe it'll tell you what their job is too. Just little pieces of information that if you click on it, you feel like, great, that was fun. I learned something. But if you don't, you're not gonna miss out too much either. And maybe I can do that with the houses or the main buildings. Maybe like the water mill, it'll tell you like how much gold it's generating for you or something like that. So reasons for you to navigate around the screen and do stuff other than just menu. And then along with that is if I wanted to draw your attention to these people more, maybe one of them, I'm going to feed them like a really important opinion or gossip that you need to hear, because it'll help you make this, you know, it'll warn you of a problem that's coming. Maybe give them like a little thought bubble above them to indicate, hey, there's something more important going on here. So in general, give you more to do. I knew that this was very bare bones, but it was very evident that that was part of why nobody was looking around the map. There was just no reason for you to. And stuff like that. I have more interesting stuff going on and give you things to do. Lastly, in this one, I was surprised I got this feedback, but because it was something that I was like, yeah, it'd be nice, but it kind of ramped home how important it is. I needed to add more flavor, more background, more substance behind who these people are. So what I mean by that is, for example, my friend Andrew, when he played, he gets to the part where Sir Godfrey is visiting, and all he wanted to do, he wanted to please Sir Godfrey. He knew that it sounded like he was an important person. He would be, want to be on his good side. But he didn't know anything about Sir Godfrey. So find a way to tell you more about them. Give you the context that you would know if you weren't just plopped into the situation. Because your house has existed for a while. You know about your neighbors. You have opinions on your High Lord and his council and things like that. So giving you some kind of menu, maybe like maybe a big, you have an optional menu you can pull up that is like the org chart or the hierarchy of the nobles in the realm. So you'd have like the High Lord at top. You'd have the major lords and then the minor lords, which would include you. And then when you click on them, you would get maybe like 1 to 3 lines or thoughts about what you know about that person, or blurbs that give you some historical context. Hey, you got, maybe you click on one neighbor and it's like, we've had a successful trade relation for years. His daughter married one of your sons. Great. I know now that they're a pretty trustworthy neighbor. Or maybe you click on Sir Godfrey and honorable knight, but has a penchant for drinking. Okay, maybe we throw a feast and he'll love us more. I don't know. Find ways to give you that flavor, though. And then that goes hand in hand with the ideas of like making the meeples have opinions, stuff like that. And then there's a lot of little, like, kind of what I would call necessary enhancements for it to feel like a modern video game. Things like allowing you to, I don't have a category for this, but, menus, all that stuff I'm going to just assume is obvious. There is no menus, there's no start, there's no pause, there's no save. We'll have to add that stuff in. But I'm talking about things like allow you to customize your house name. Not everyone wants to be Lord Penguin. I don't understand it, but some people don't. So allow you to change what your house name is. Maybe choose your colors and your meeples will reflect that. All sorts of things like that to really let you feel more invested in your house and build a better flavor or emergent story like that. So that was the big 3 things that I took away. There were also a lot of little things about how the UI worked or the controls or stuff like that, which I definitely appreciated all that. I'm just not going to bore you with all that. Moral of the story, I'm super grateful for everyone that did it, that played it, gave me some feedback. I appreciate you endlessly, and we're going to keep going on this. So, what does that mean for the future? I'm going to pull up my timeline here. Let's see, am I overlapping anywhere? Nope. What if I'm going to zoom in a little bit, though, so you can see better. So this is my timeline in Jira. You can see here we're in middle of September. Prototype done. Actually, kind of hard to read no matter what I do here. So let's move me back over here. Can I scroll? Yeah, I can scroll up right here. So currently, end goal for having an alpha release. I call that last one a prototype, a demo. It's not a full game, or it's not even pretending to be a full game. I want to release like an alpha of it where, okay, I've taken a lot of feedback, implemented it, and now gonna dress it up as a more complete experience. And my rough goal is end of December. So you see here all my items. They end about mid-December. I know holidays will be around then, and let's be honest, some of these might run a little long. So giving myself a couple weeks wiggle room at the end. But the big kind of checkpoint things is I'm working on technical enhancements now, making a lot of the systems that are running the game a little bit more professional, a little bit more robust. Not just, okay, I slap this together to see how it plays. Oh, okay, I know I want to keep this. Let's make it, more stable, more flexible, more usable, all that good stuff. Then we'll be tackling those problems about like making your option, improving the outcomes and options, as well as enhancing your dialogue options as well. Really working on that core gameplay loop, adding in things like menus for extra flavor and making the world object selectable. Really kind of broke the tasks into those big buckets, roughly lining up with the feedback. So that's our overall goal and roadmap. We'll see if anywhere in the middle there, if the game's in like a stable point and I want to show off some features, maybe I'll update the prototype out there for people to give it a go. But I don't really have a point where I don't plan on having anything to show. Well, I'll be able to show, but anything for people to play until end of December at this point. What are we sitting at? 17 minutes? This is a long video already. Great. What I will say that I will barely tease what I've been working on right now. For this, let's move me back over to the left to show the inspector a little bit better. And at this point, I'm in technical changes, and the thing I've been working on right now is making it more robust, making the part of the program more robust that determines whether or not you see an event or whether or not you have an option available to you. Currently in the prototype, it was very much, is it turn 7 and event named blah blah blah? Okay, did you do these 3 things? Very hard-coded, not flexible at all. What I'm going to do instead is the code is going to be much more generic, and I have this test object here that you can see on the side is allowing me to test run what I'm calling these calculation objects or calculation strings. A little bit inspired by my work with Fast here. What I learned is doing something like Fasted, holy cow, complicated. I wanted to write this thing that would allow me to write a single string that I could push through a calculation function that spit out a value, much like how I had when I was, consulting with Fast. Wow, that was a lot more difficult and a lot buggier than I expected, so I scrapped that. So I have 2 approaches right now. One is the way, making it a little bit more flexible to program whether or not what I call on the back end matters. The events that pop up in the bottom right, whether or not they show up. An example that I have here, I'll drag it in. Oh my goodness, I having to move myself back and forth. We'll zoom in a little bit. This is an example JSON file of the matter. It's got like the dialogue, the name of it, and I added this field for criteria. And what I can do with this is I can either specify an operand, OP, that just says bring back a value, or I can bring back a function. Tell it, okay, run the logical function with the parameters, these 3. And so what this allows me to do, and how you should read this, is this event will show if this function returns true. And this function is a logical function, meaning like greater than, equals, stuff like that. So is your food greater than or equal to 10? And if I come in here and hit play, I can run that calculation and it should return a true or false for me. It's not plugged into the regular game, so actually on my editor, the game's broken right now. But if I hit this little checkbox, we'll see that, yes, it came back as true because my food is greater than 10 right now. And so hopefully what that allowed me to do is, without changing the code base, allow me to write the matters and be as complex as I need to be, and keep all a lot of that complexity on the matter itself, without having to make a terrifying maze of if statements and stuff on the back end. I've also put together this string replace function, which I'll expand a little bit more so you can see. What I'm going to use this for is, let's say in that dialogue text, your merchant or your advisor is telling you about. Right now, it's hard coded. There is nothing dynamic about it. What I would like to do is for them to be able to refer to things that are dynamic, whether that is, like I said, right now it's all hard coded as Lord Penguin. Maybe you want to be Lord so and so. Excellent. I need to be able to make that text variable. So I'm finding a way to write the text so that I can replace certain parts of it with values. So right here, it's finding the @stat_food when it runs the code and says, oh, go look up what our current food amount is and replace it with that. So you see @stat_food, @stat_gold down in my results would come out as 50 and 100. But I could do things like names player name, names High Lord name, stuff like that. So that the text that I'm writing isn't is much more flexible. And then if you just change your names for your world, great, the game's ready for that. So those were the two things that I've been working on this week. Haven't plugged them into all the places, and by far haven't replaced all the old stuff to use it yet. But just really setting up some foundational stuff right now. Trying to remind myself it just needs to work for the game. I don't need it to be the most perfect piece of code ever written. As if I could accomplish that. But that is where we're at now, and I'm realizing, oh, thank goodness I left myself in the middle, but you could still see what I was pointing at. I was a little bit concerned there. Let's get me back in my rightful corner. Get it? Rightful corner? That was a bad pun to end the video with, but great. That was Devlog 4, the feedback episode. If you have played the game since I made this and want to let me know what you thought of it, still hit me up with that. You can email me, text me, call me, find me at the supermarket. Probably not that one. Yeah, I'd love to hear it still, even though I've kind of made some big choices about what we're going to do going forward. No, there's still always time to adjust. So if you point out something that I truly have not thought of, still like to hear about it. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it to here, astounding. Oh my goodness. The other thing I didn't do is I forgot to give a cat update because they're being pretty boring right now. So we have Jellybean sleeping on his makeshift bed, which is just a suitcase with a blanket on it. Oh, I woke him up. Hi, Jellybean. And then, oh, it's a little hard to see in the bright white light, but in the top bunk we have a little corner of Juliet showing. Okay, now we can finally end the video. Thank you for watching and have a good day.